Speaking of him, our next speaker, a lot of you are here to see. He can be found on The Blaze. He's one of my favorite contributors to watch there. In fact, I would encourage you, if you haven't watched his show, it's very interesting. You can look at one specifically. I think you can Google his name, Jonathan Stickman. He made 45 minutes unraveling Abbott, his policies, what has happened, and he's going to be talking about that right now. Come on up, Chad Prather.
Hey, welcome to Open Mic Night at the Elks Lodge in Fort Worth. Everybody's talking. That's the problem with conservatism. Nobody shuts up and does anything. That's where we are in the state. We got a guy in Austin, Texas, who loves to talk about what he's doing 5 days after Ron DeSantis says he's doing it and actually doesn't. So that's what we're up against. How many of you guys gained weight during the COVID shutdowns? Did you? I gained the COVID-19 because of the violation of our Constitution. I gained weight because Article 1, Section 16, which says that you cannot violate contracts in the state of Texas. Did you know that Greg Abbott made it so that it was illegal for you to go to the gym? That's enough reason to vote him out. Thank you, I'm done. That's good. Good done. Oh, that's not enough? How much of the Constitution needs to be violated for you to vote the guy out? Now, you want to sit there and say, oh, he's doing a great job. I was on the radio the other day with NBC. NBC said the media, according to the media, Greg Abbott's doing a great job as a conservative. I said, first of all, if you start the sentence with according to the media, everything else is garbage. They said he's doing a great job on the border. I said, you tell me what he's doing on the border. Did you see the slides that Weston put up there? This morning when I woke up, I get an update from the border every single morning. This morning, Jason Jones, he sent me a message. He said there's 6,000 under the bridge. Tonight there's 9,000 under the bridge. There's 20,000 more that are coming. The cartels in Acuna across from Val Verde County, just a 100-mile stretch, are making $25 million a week off of human trafficking, drug smuggling, organ harvesting. And today the news came out, according to Fox News, Greg Abbott is now saying he's shutting down 6 ports of entry. Why now? They were open a while back, weren't they? You remember 2014, 2015, whenever Greg Abbott, there were headlines out there that said he was doubling the budget on border security in the state of Texas. You remember that? Pull those headlines from 2015 and put them right there. Today, it's the same rhetoric with nothing being done. I've been down there, I've been to the border counties, I've met with the border sheriffs, I've met with border judges, so many different folks down there. I've seen the so-called wall that they're recommending. It's rolled up chain link fence on the ground. The border's wide open. How many of you lost your ability to go to church last year? You know, that's a violation of the Texas Bill of Rights. How many of you had to close down business last year? That's a violation of the Texas Bill of Rights. How many of you had your rights diminished or disenfranchised? That is a violation of the Texas Bill of Rights. I mean, we can keep listing off all these things that are going on in terms of the violations. Like if you hired somebody and you said, hey, here's the rules, and they kept breaking the rules, how many rules do they have to break before you fire them? Break one, you're gone. How many things do I have to list? Say the rules have been broken. Greg Abbott declared an oath before the U.S. Constitution, the Constitution of Texas, and before Almighty God. And in my count right now, he's violated 14 of your constitutional rights in the last 18 months. Now, the Constitution, folks, wasn't written to keep you safe. It was written to keep you free. Right. And I'm tired of talking about it. A year ago, when I jumped into this race, people thought, he's a funny guy. We're waiting on the punchline. I don't make jokes when it comes to Texas. When it comes to Texas, I'm very, very serious. Texas has been very good to me. I was not born here. I was conceived here, and as a right-to-life guy, I believe I'm at least similarly a Texan. And grew up in the state of Georgia, went to the University of Georgia, came to Fort Worth 20 years ago. I'm crisscrossing the state. I've done it over and over in the world of entertainment. Now I'm doing it in the world that I don't have to be in. I don't have to be a part of this world. God, I'm pissed off. And many of you are angry as well. Because when I have people comparing us and say, man, Texas needs to be more like South Dakota, or Texas needs to be more like Florida, I want you to be so free here in the state of Texas that in a year from now, 2 years from now, we look at Ron DeSantis and just pat him on the head and say, man, that was a good try. We don't talk about it, we do it. We don't talk about cutting spending. We don't talk about getting rid of property tax. We don't talk about shutting down the border. We don't talk about fixing an energy grid. We don't talk about making sure that we don't get into a water crisis. We do it because we are, by God, Texas. We don't slouch when we walk to the job. We put our shoulder to the plow. We don't stop until the job is done. What's wrong with us right now? Why are we ranked in the 40s in opportunity, in healthcare, in education, and the list goes on? Why are we ranked so low? Don't compare me to South Dakota. South Dakota doesn't have its own toast. Let me tell you something, folks. It's time for Texas not to be the Texas that people look at and say, ooh, people come from other countries and they say, man, we came to America, they call me that. Did you visit Texas? I don't want Texas to be one among the other 49 sisters. I want Texas to be the state that sets the standard. And by which all other states are compared to. I believe in Texas sovereignty. I believe in Texas borders. I believe that you, as a conservative, have the right to govern yourself, govern your family, raise your children, educate them, make money, keep as much of it as you possibly can, own your home, live in it, retire in it, kick your feet up, enjoy your grandchildren in the later years, and leave a legacy of freedom to the generations to come. That's not too much to ask. We just added 666 laws. That's a weird number to me. 666 new laws. How many of you woke up 2 weeks ago and said, my life would be better if I had 600 new laws added to my life? None of you did. But you got them. And the ones you wanted, by the way, are so watered down they're virtually unrecognizable from the amendment in the bill that was originally written. Constitutional carry is not constitutional at all. It's permitless. Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr, if it was the time of the Revolution, guess what? According to this new Texas constitutional carry law, those two founding fathers would not be able to carry a firearm because they'd be too young. Shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. You say, but there needs to be regulations. Does there? This is Texas. How much regulation do you want? How many millions of people got regulated out of jobs last year? I passed a sign on the highway the other day that says, not all heroes wear capes, and there's a nurse and a doctor and a practitioner. And I said, well, apparently not all heroes get to keep their jobs in the state of Texas anymore either. We're putting masks on our children. We're telling people what they can and can't do. Telling them where they can and cannot go. Folks, there's a Texas way of thinking. There's a Texas way of living. There's a Texas way of walking and talking. I believe that we can chew gum in Texas if we really try. There's a swagger. There's an attitude. There's an arrogance to us that is mixed with humility that has become known as walking tall and everything is bigger in Texas. But we've lost that. It's been diminished. Now, we can turn a blind eye to it. And I think that comes from having too many years of saying, God bless Texas. And now as adults, we've said it so many times, we've lost its true meaning and its sacred import. But God bless Texas. And like everything else, He turned it over to men to govern, to guide, and to lead. God gave us an identity by His divine providence. When Sam Houston, with less than 1,000 men, won our freedom and independence from Mexico, we became a republic. And since 1800, Texas has never marshaled more than 1,000 men to keep its freedom. It's never had to, because of God's hand of direct providence. It was God's providence and God's hand and His grace and mercy that has given us a sense of destiny, a direction to go, a goal to set and to achieve. And you know what? We've achieved it. We achieved it without Silicon Valley. We achieved it without China. We achieved it without big business. We achieved it without multinational corporations. We achieved it without Google and Amazon and Tesla. We have a heritage, folks. We have a heritage of oil and gas and ranching and farming and industry and putting our hand to the plow. This is not the Texas, folks, of your fathers and our forefathers. Because Texas is not the Texas that most Texans think it is anymore. Oh, we pat ourselves on the back. And we stand underneath the star of our flag and the stars of our Creator. But I'm telling you, the Creator is looking down on Texas and saying, will you go the direction that the United States of America has gone and turn your back on that providence? To reject the mercy of Almighty God. I say we must not. I don't believe that there are problems in this world. The problems that we face today, we can't solve them by being politically correct.
No.
It's time to offend some people. Well, let me ask you a question. This is the United States of America. God bless my TikTokers in here. God bless those who walked and drove and flew and however you got here. God bless you. Some of us people in politics and public speaking, we should all practice our speeches on TikTok because they give you 15 to 60 seconds. People say, why are you a fast talker? Because I had to be. You don't understand Sam Houston. When he was a representative in the state of Tennessee, he got into a duel. You remember duels? Well, people would be less offended online if we brought back duels. He got into a duel with a guy. The guy that he was in a duel with didn't even show up. He had what they call a second substitute. Houston won the battle. He shot the guy in the groin. The guy said, "You've killed me." That's a direct quote. Tends to be the phrase that comes out when you shoot someone in the groin, I found. He lived through it. But before the duel, Andrew Jackson, who at the time was the governor of Tennessee, said to Sam Houston, our first president in the Republic of Texas, he said to Sam Houston, he said, "Bite down on a bullet and it will help you aim better." This is back when men were toxic, folks. And God bless that toxicity. Because it made our country great. Our country's come a long way from that. By the way, Andrew Jackson, as a point of trivia, he was the second in over 100 duels. By the time he was president, 100 times. Listen, it's one thing, you gotta be tough to be in a duel. You gotta be real tough to go stand in for your buddy. That is the resolve that founded this country and established this republic, that galvanized it into world history. That is the spirit. It's not always politically correct. I love Sam Houston, who said, and who was, by the way, a very flawed character. Married 3 times, a flawed man, not always great in the things that he said. Raised by Cherokee Indians, an alcoholic, emblazoned and accused of being a coward. But his words still live through history. And I talk to Sam every time I drive down through Huntsville. I just look up at his statue and I say, "Sam, you got me, right? You got me? You still here?" And I feel like Sam said, "It's getting questionable, bro." He said, "Govern wisely and as little as possible." I got into this thing in July of 2020 because there was another mandate that was being handed down in the state of Texas. Businesses were being shuttered. People were being deemed and their businesses deemed non-essential. I got on Twitter and I said, I'm going to run for governor in 2022 in the state of Texas. It blew open a door. A lot of people got on board. They got excited about it. People were waiting on the punchline, as I alluded to earlier. Folks, let me tell you something. What we're becoming as a state is the punchline. Now, you don't want to hear that, but that's a fact. People are laughing at us. You remember the guy who was tough and kind of a bully? He was a varsity letterman in high school. We all knew that guy. Walked around pushing the kids around. And then he comes to the reunion 25 years later and he's still wearing a damn jacket. Doesn't fit anymore and his belly's sticking out. Because he never got out of a high school legacy. Folks, that's what Texas is becoming. We're becoming a laughing stock. Because we keep telling the world we're conservative, and we're not doing conservative things. I want to get government out of your life. I don't want to bounce a budget or get a budget to zero. I want to get it to a deficit. I want us to spend less than we bring in. What a novel concept. Anybody else run a budget in your family, in your home, a checkbook balance? Do you know that Greg Abbott has increased spending in the last 7 years by $48 billion in this state? Your property taxes haven't come down, they've spiraled upwards. The fact of the matter is, when you focus on things like that, you realize there's less money in your pocket to retire and sit on your porch and enjoy your grandchildren, as I said earlier. You don't have that right anymore. Because government's gotten so big, you can hear a big, giant, sucking sound out of Austin, Texas, that is taking your liberties, taking your rights, taking your money, taking your family, indoctrinating your children, allowing liberal, lunatic leftists to be appointed by the governor to the Board of Regents over our colleges and universities. He's doing that. That's why I've adopted the phrase ABA, anyone but Abbott. I would elect that camera over Abbott at this point. You know why? Because either way, there's an operator telling them what to do. The man raised $18.7 million, excuse me, I don't want to get too crazy. $18.7 million in the 10 days following the original legislative session. That ain't mom and pop money. That's the operators telling that camera what to do. That's Silicon Valley. That's foreign entities. That is medical clinics that specialize in gender modification for your children. We send our kids to these public institutions called public school, which are just brainwashing institutions that are teaching them CRT, which is nothing but Marxism. It's socialism. Folks, America is on a full-blown crash course with communism right now. You know why? Because Donald Trump upset the apple cart. He wasn't part of the puppeteer's plan. They expected that 8 years of Hillary Rodham Clinton. Well, when they missed that boat, they said, we got to rig this thing because we don't have elected officials anymore. We have appointed officials. Appointed people. Joe Biden wasn't elected, he was appointed. They had to put the biggest puppet on the planet in place so he wouldn't push back at all. And now we're seeing the results because they have to make up for the lost time because Donald Trump was a 4-year speed bump. Folks, I don't feel united with New York. I don't feel united with California. I don't feel united with Illinois. I don't feel united with Oregon or Washington. I don't feel united with Washington, D.C. Someone said to me a couple weeks ago, they said, as a newspaper reporter, said, if you get to Austin, do you think you can handle it? Because Austin's not like the rest of Texas. I said, that's funny you should say that. The fact that Austin's not like the rest of Texas ought to tell you the problem. I feel united with the rest of Texas. I don't feel united with Austin. $100 million Greg Abbott just gave to institutions of higher learning that are being run by leftist, liberal, lunatic regents. And he's going to crowdsource a wall? That doesn't make sense to me. $19 billion given to the state of Texas in federal funds to aid in pandemic relief for our public education. They spend $1.1 billion and $17.9 billion is mysteriously in the wind. And if I had to guess, it's somewhere drawing interest for the purposes of Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott's now called a second special session, which will take place September 20th. It will start. This is the perfect picture of a man who is running for office, campaigning on taxpayer money, doing everything he can to stay in the news and stay relevant, yet still do nothing on your dime. You can't tell me a single thing that man has stuck his neck out for in terms of legislation in the last 7 years. Maybe there's one. Those of you who really pay attention, there's probably one. I'll tell you, it's preschool for all. That's it. And that wasn't even him, that was his wife. Folks, I'm telling you, we got to put real people back in office again. People who understand that they're not there to dictatorially and unilaterally tell you how to live your life, but who get out of your way and make it so that you can make as much money, live with as much freedom, own your stuff, including your property, raise your children. Somebody who gives you that dream life I just described a few moments ago. You got to put those people back in office. Unfortunately, everybody's programmed, right? Because we need the next good old boy who's going to take the place of the president of the board there at the country club, and it's his turn to do it. Well, see, I upset that apple cart because it was never my turn. It was never Donald Trump's turn. It was never Ronald Reagan's turn. It was never JFK's turn. JFK, they assassinated. Ronald Reagan, they shot. And Donald Trump, they assassinated his character. You see what happens when you're not part of the program? There's a trend, folks. It's been happening now for 63 years. We need to pay attention. What's going to happen here in the state of Texas? You got a guy, everybody tells me, you don't have a shot in hell at beating Greg Abbott. I said, I'm already beating Greg Abbott. Yeah! The beauty of what we're doing is I don't have to sit in that chair to beat the man. That's right. The man is beating himself. I am the one calling attention to the crisis. And I'm the one who doesn't care about political correctness. And I am also one, someone asked me earlier, they said, how do we know if you got an office that you would just do the same thing? How do we know you can't get bought out? I said, because I'm having way too much fun calling this shit out. You can put a price tag on what I'm doing. I love it. I love it. And what I've seen already in the sordid, seedy, nasty underbelly of Texas politics, I can never unsee it. I will never look away from it. I will continue to fight this fight no matter what happens. I'm not out here just running for office in order to recreationally hold a seat somewhere. I'm doing this on purpose. I'm specific about this. Because let me tell you, the city councilman, I'm not worried about that guy. He was just following orders when my rights were taken away. The guy sitting in Austin, Texas, he's the one.
See, they're already silencing me. I had no idea Greg Abbott had that much power.
There it is. I'm going to hush. I would appreciate it. Look, you can go online. You can see the speeches I've given. I know that the mind can absorb more than the sea can endure. You've been here a long time. Thank you for coming out. Thank you, Wes, and thank all these different folks that come out here. I value what they do. People keep telling me all the time, they're like, oh, you're just doing this as a popularity contest. I don't need this kind of popularity. They say you're just making money. If you can get with me after this and tell me how you're supposed to run for office and make money at the same time, please come meet with me, okay? We don't have big donors. We're not bought out. We don't have these special interest groups that are saying, hey, we'll support you if. I would tell them where to stick their money. I don't believe in that. I'm a businessman. I'm a small businessman. I'm local right here in Fort Worth. And Fort Worth's been good to me. It has blessed me, man. It has blessed me. But you know what I care about? I care about my kids, and I care about my grandkids, and I care about you, because we are building an untenable future that in the days ahead, Texas will not look anything. Did you hear what Weston said? There's 9,000. 20,000 more coming. Today. You think Texas is going to be the Texas you always enjoyed in the next 10 years? No. And let me tell you something. The Biden administration is targeting Texas because they want Texas to fall. It's one of the reasons why I said the other day when he said I'm going to mandate all these vaccines and stuff like that. I made some people mad. I don't care. I said the first thing I do, and I'm not an executive order guy, but I write an executive order saying there will be no enforcement of those mandates in this state. And I said the other thing we would do is we can start writing up those articles of secession. Now people say, oh my God, you hate America. No, Texas is the only state left that can put America back on track. The only state left. You think California's going to do it? They're big enough. You think they're going to do it? They're not going to do it. Texas is the last bastion of freedom and liberty that has the power to put Washington, D.C. back on track. And you know what we do? We stand tall and we say, this is a sovereign state. We respect our borders. We respect the borders of our counties. We respect the borders of our land. We respect the borders of our property. We respect the borders of our families. We respect the borders of our individuals. We govern ourselves. And we will tell you, Washington, D.C., what our destiny looks like. You will never get to tell us what we're supposed to be. I say to you, hell no, and 10,000 times hell no. I will not be dictated to by a guy who's treating his Alzheimer's with ice cream. You think I didn't go to ALZ.org? You'll see ice cream is a treatment for Alzheimer's. That's like that $10,000 a year budget for chocolate chip. I'm at a point now where I don't care who I offend. I don't care who gets angry with me. Texas must be the master of its own destiny. Right. And the federal government, the 2.5 million unelected bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., we didn't put them there, they're appointed, just like the rest. They're going to keep putting their greedy fingers in my pocket? No way. Not on my time. And no matter what you do, if you elect me, you vote for me in this primary, or if you say that guy's off his rocker. I got 5 million social media followers, and I promise you, I ain't going away. And you can say, well, we're going to wipe those social, we're going to censor you. You can't censor me. You can't censor me. Stephen Chaco, my purple brother. Late to the party. Prather2022.com. If you can't remember that, you can go to Baylor22.com. It still comes to me. You can go to HaveItOut.com. It still comes to me. We're just getting started, folks. Let me tell you something. Austin, Texas has become a joke. The most conservative legislative session in the history of those Democrats run off to D.C. to hide under the skirt of Nancy Pelosi. You know what I would have done? You have seen me on national news on my hands and knees with a screwdriver changing the locks on their office doors. Put me in jail over it. Take the chairs off the House floor, put them out on Congress, and set a bonfire. I'll be the one blowing the gasoline on it. You said, well, you can't do that. Yes, I can. They couldn't go to Washington, D.C., but they did. And they said, well, if you come back, Dave Felix, figure the house. If you come back, it's going to be okay, guys. We'll still have steak dinner. We'll still hang out. I'm not that guy. Let's take government out of your life. Let's make politics boring again. Let's stop creating celebrities out of the likes of AOC. I didn't want to talk about it. Just know, I'm in this. I don't have to be in this, but I'm glad I'm in this, man. And I tell you what, I have made some of the best friends I will ever know on this planet because in the last year, man, I've met some good folks. Many of you are sitting in this room. Some of you drove across the state. Came here from Odessa. Yeah! Came here from Waco. Yeah! Came here from, it's crazy, Tyler, Texas. Yeah. First Street. Sometimes I like to remind people, one of my favorite pieces of poetry is Walt Mason's The Man Who Delivers the Goods. There's a man in this world who's never turned down where every chance is a stray. Gets a glad hand in the populous town and out where farmers make hay. Greeted with pleasure in deserts of sand and deep in the eye of the woods. Wherever he goes, there's a welcoming hand. He's the man who delivers the goods. You want Texas to get a welcoming hand on a global stage and be respected again? Let's deliver the goods. Let's quit talking about it. Let's deliver the goods. Let's make a difference, folks. Think outside of the box. Let's think outside of the box. And let's stop putting these career guys back in power. It's not a career. They wanted George Washington to have a third term. He said, nope, going back to Mount Vernon, going to make whiskey. That's my kind of guy. I like it. Prather2022.com. Thank you guys. God bless you.
Yes, all our speakers, Chad, Chris, great job, Weston, great job. Hey, also, a special thanks to the Tarrant County Constable's Office who kept us safe this evening. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it. Hey, thank you everyone for coming out tonight. Third Thursdays is when we meet. We'd love to have you back here. Everyone have a great evening. Drive safe. Oh, and we have one drawing here. Hey, can you pull a ticket out of this? If you got a free ticket for the book, the last four, oh, we have a name. Do we have a name? Is that Maggie? No. Adele Johnson? Is it Adele?